Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I want to talk about self-growth and what that journey has been like for me this year because I've noticed changes in myself and in my life that have been so amazing, and I was looking back on the behaviors um, and what changed about me. So first, let's talk about the starting point. About a year ago, I was struggling mentally and emotionally, and I honestly didn't really notice it. I wasn't focused on my deen. I wasn't trying to learn more about my faith. I wasn't doing my prayers on time. I was missing them. And I was kind of just throwing my hijab on because I had been wearing it for so long. It just became like a habit at this point. But I wasn't really trying to connect with God. My sleep schedule was terrible. I was getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night during the school week and 12 hours of sleep a night on the weekends. I've been thinking about my mindset back then too, and I have always prepared myself for the worst so I couldn't be disappointed. But when you live like that, you're always looking for the negatives. You're always having a negative mindset. So even when things do go well, you see the negative in things. And when you have a negative mindset, things seem to go wrong. Even if they don't, you find something wrong with it. And along with that comes negative self talk. So maybe thinking that you don't deserve a certain grade or you don't deserve the job opportunity or whatever. And when you feel that way about yourself and when you keep repeating it to yourself, you're going to start believing it. And then your actions are going to subconsciously change. And you're not going to be getting the job or the grade or whatever that you wanted. About a year ago, I started making changes in my life that brought me to where I am today and that have affected me so amazingly. And one of those is a positive mindset. So trying to be optimistic, even when things don't seem to be going right, finding the good in things. Or positive self talk. So, telling yourself that you deserve that grade or you deserve the job opportunity, whatever. Because again, your mind is so powerful. And when you tell yourself something over and over and over again, you start to believe it. And then you start to act that way without even realizing it. So, kind of confidence too. It's kind of like a fake it till you make it thing, right? You can tell yourself to be confident over and over and over again, and if you act like someone who's confident, eventually you'll just start to feel that way. You can kind of trick your mind into things sometimes. So talking to yourself in a positive way, you can trick your mind into being positive, and at some point you don't even have to try. So for me, it was if I noticed that I was thinking negatively, I would stop thinking that and I would think to myself, Yasmin, that's not true. Or if it was like a really strong feeling, let's say I was feeling really, really sad in the moment and I didn't want to do anything with the rest of my day, my plans had been ruined, I would remind myself that feelings are just feelings. They pass, they're not fact, they're not permanent. They'll spike for 20, 30 minutes and they'll go away. So you just have to get through it then, do something calm, maybe have a glass of tea or something, and you'll get through it. You'll be fine. So it was kind of stuff like that, positive self talk. And something that really, really helped me was journaling. And I recommend journaling to everybody. And before, I didn't really understand how that was gonna help you. How is writing your thoughts down on paper going to be any better than thinking them in your head? But I noticed that when you journal, you are thinking about your thoughts, you're thinking about your mindset. When you journal, you're kind of self reflecting immediately and you don't even realize it. And it can benefit you so much. It helps so much. And self reflection is a huge thing when it comes to growth. But not to the point where you're nitpicking and overthinking everything about yourself, because that's not really self reflection, that's just self criticism. Thinking about, your actions, your behaviors, any patterns that you see in your life, and journaling about that can help so much because you start to connect the dots without even realizing it. You start to find patterns in your life that you didn't even know were there. So, journaling is absolutely a huge thing that helped me. I was talking about being optimistic and looking on the bright side of things, looking for the positives. And this is where religion also can be tied into it. I started looking for the blessings in things. Maybe I didn't get a job that I wanted, or I didn't get the grade I wanted, or I lost a friendship or something. Think about why did you think you lost that? but try to think of it in a positive way and think of where you think you would have been. I'm saying think a lot. Where do you think you would have been with that person in your life or with that job, and look at where you are now? Because maybe you didn't get that job because you would have started hanging out with your coworkers and they weren't a good influence. Maybe you lost that friendship because they started going into haram and you're someone who can be influenced very easily, so you were going to start doing it too. There are so many things that could go wrong in your life, but it didn't really go wrong. It just took a different route. And the things that you lose are probably things that are going to keep you away from Allah. And when He takes things out of your life, He's opening up another door. And that's always something to really think about. And sometimes you don't even realize the blessings that are in your life. You really have to think about it, but they're here. Like, no matter what, they're always going to be here. I've talked a lot about mindset, but now I want to talk about religion and what that has been like for me this year and how it's brought me closer to Allah and helped me grow a lot. So, obviously, having a positive mindset is an amazing thing, but for me, that was rooted in religion. So, I do not have a very strong routine. I've never been a big routine person, and pretty much the only routine that I can manage is my prayers. So, structuring my day around my prayers. And when you do that, things line up in a really amazing way and you don't even realize it. But structuring your day around your prayers, and then I stopped rushing my du'as. I started taking time with them, and I started reading more Quran, and not just reading Quran, but reading the English translation and watching sohbets or scholars talk about it so that I could really understand what I was reading. I started Quran journaling, which I found to be very amazing, and it is obviously time consuming, but you can break it into smaller chunks. You don't have to do the whole surah at a time, you can do an ayah or two at a time, and that's completely fine. And that's honestly what I try to do, where I try to break a surah into chunks and look through it. But educating yourself on your deen, taking time to build your relationship with Allah is going to change things in your life in a way you never could have expected. It's honestly amazing. And then I started thinking about my hijab and how before I would just throw it on because I had been wearing it for so long at this point. Like I had said in a previous video, your faith is a journey, and sometimes you feel really close to Allah and sometimes you feel really distant from Him. And before I had felt more distant from Him, and I use my hijab to bring me closer to Him. So I started wearing it with intention. I started thinking about why I started wearing hijab in the first place, and how I wanted Allah to be proud of me. I wanted to make my Creator happy. And when He was happy, I was happy, you know? And I started thinking about all the love in my life and how all of the love in my life goes back to Allah. He put all these people in my life, He put all these things that I love in my life. He did this, and that is the biggest act of love I've ever seen before. Going to Friday prayer and paying attention to the khutbah, but not just paying attention, reflecting on it afterwards, thinking about what the Imam really said, how it applies to your life specifically, any changes that you can make in your life. That was really amazing for me. Something that I think is absolutely crucial for self-growth is learning to be comfortable alone, learning to be okay by yourself, because so often we depend on other people that we don't like being alone. Kind of like how silence makes people uncomfortable, being alone makes people uncomfortable. We always want to hang out with a friend or a sibling or someone you're with. You never want to be alone. You want to be texting someone or calling someone. And before I was like that. I used to be on the phone with my friend for hours a day, so always texting someone or hanging out with a friend. I was never alone because I didn't like it. It made me feel very, very uncomfortable. And this year I really started practicing being alone. And something happened that I never ever imagined would happen. And I enjoyed my own company. And it got to a point where honestly I prefer my own company over other people sometimes because it's so calm and it's so much peace. So something that I did to kind of become more comfortable spending time by myself is going on a walk by myself. Maybe listening to music or listening to a podcast or listening to Quran, but going on a walk by myself. Or going to a cafe by myself. And to me, that felt kind of weird in the beginning because to me, a cafe is a very social place. I'd only ever gone there when I'm going with friends. So going to a cafe by myself was something that felt weird in the beginning, but now I really enjoy it. I love going to go get a tea and just journal or listen to a podcast or something and just hang out. Kind of taking yourself on a self date. I went to this little lake by us and I had this decoration that I wanted to redo for my dorm room. I wanted to paint it, so I brought it with me and I painted it, and I brought some fruit and I brought my journal. I journaled a little bit. I painted and I listened to a debate that I was really interested in. And I was alone for like 3 or 4 hours and it was amazing. I had such a good time, a better time than when I hang out with people sometimes. I was just kind of like in the flow and it was really fun. And finding things that bring you joy is so important. Like for me, creative things bring me joy. So when I do hang out with my friends, recently I've been, doing like a little painting with them, maybe like a little watercolor or a little acrylic painting, and it's just so much fun. Creative things are so fun to me, they bring so much joy. So something that I did so that I could constantly see it and constantly bring myself joy was I painted my windows. I have 2 windows in my room and I mixed acrylic paint with water and dish soap and I painted flowers all over my windows. And plants have been something that's brought me joy. So I started planting things and I have this nice thing in my room, just this nice pot, I guess. And I have a whole bunch of different plants growing in my room and flowers up on my windowsill, and I love it. I absolutely love it, and it makes me happy every single time I see it. So finding things that bring you joy and practicing them and then practicing it alone is absolutely huge, because when you are comfortable by yourself, you don't feel this need for anybody else. And when you don't feel a need for something, you stop looking for it, and that's when you start attracting it. We're always looking for something, but when you're looking, you're missing it, and it's right in front of your eyes and you're absolutely missing it. And when you just calm down, you relax, and you focus on yourself, that's when you start seeing things clearly, and that's when things start coming to you. Well, thank you for watching. I hope that this helps somebody. Again, those are the things that helped me. Maybe try them out for yourself and let me know if they help you out. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. My Instagram is in my bio, so go check that out and go follow me over there. And if you have any ideas for what video I should do next, what I should be talking about, comment it below or message me on Instagram and let me know. Thank you. Have a great day.